Hello, my name is Alvaro Castillo. I'm an MBA candidate at Long Beach State University. Today's series is about discussing salary and negotiating a job offer. Now, when it comes to this topic, in terms of negotiating an offer, one of the first things that you're going to run into is the issue of your salary. Now, I've been in human resources management for about 15 years, and I've had the opportunity to interview, negotiate, and discuss this topic dozens, hundreds of times. So, here's a quick insight into what I know. When it comes to the topic of salary, first and foremost, understand that he who brings up money first always loses. So, if you can avoid it, and if you can push off the conversation around compensation, it's best if that's towards the end of your interview process and towards the end of your selection, because they don't know what they're buying until they've got a chance to meet you and you've got a chance to meet everyone else. But at some point someone's going to ask you what you make or what you made in the past. And if you have to provide it, then do so. For example, in an application. It's going to be required at some point, so might as well disclose it. Now, when it comes to understanding what your range is or what you anticipate making, that is a whole different set of issues. There's a lot of things that you know about the organization, there's a lot of things you may know about the job, but you may not know everything. So leverage on that. If you can, try and again be broad, try and maybe throw the question back at the person who's asking. That can sometimes work. And there are a lot of suggestions that I will provide to you in a handout that you can download at the end of this that will give you some samples of questions that you can ask to turn the table back on the person who inquired. But when it comes to salary, keep in mind, you don't focus on salary at the beginning. Wait until the end of the process, of not only the interview, but of the selection process before you start discussing money. Now, let's talk about your offer. Now, the big assumption here is that you've done a bang-up job and you've interviewed everyone, you've talked to enough people, and they like you. Congratulations. Now, you're in a position to negotiate an offer. Depending on how the organization handles it, whether it's verbally or in writing, the first thing that you need to remember is that negotiation is a process. It's not a step. So, always show your enthusiasm, always show your excitement, be positive, try to not make it adversarial at all times during the negotiation, and keep in mind that everything is negotiable. I've done this for 15 years, as I mentioned before, and I've seen it all. What I also know is that if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. So, all else fails, ask. Now, what is negotiable? As I mentioned before, everything is. But it may not be necessarily in the terms or in the way that you want it. You got to look at the whole package and be open to that. And also understand what is it that you need before you even entertain that offer. And that should be done probably after you do your last interview. Keep in mind whether it's financial, whether it's work-life balance, all these other things, you want to keep those into consideration. But you got to decide that in advance. Now, a couple of things that you need to keep in mind is that you need to obviously seek all the details that you can. Whether that means that you go out and do your own research and find out what the ranges are for that occupation. Maybe you go on glassdoor.com and see if there's salary information that you can pull up from that website or other websites. But the other thing is, for example, fringe benefits. How do those come into play? You have to decide that. A common request that people have is, say, the organization offers you 2 weeks of vacation and you're hoping for 3, or that you currently have 3 weeks. Well, if you negotiate 2% more on your base pay, that's effectively an extra week of vacation. It just happens to be one of them is unpaid, but you're getting paid throughout the year. There's different ways that you can slice that. Now, when you do ultimately negotiate a salary and you get to the bottom line number, try and be firm, be polite, but always engage the person who's asking you, and hopefully you're talking to the hiring manager and not someone like me in HR. Because more than likely the person who needs your services, who wants your skills, is going to be a lot more flexible and willing to negotiate. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that when you do finally accept, and maybe it's not all the things that you wanted, but it has most of the things that you wanted, always show your respect and show excitement. And ultimately, of course, you want to make sure you get it in writing. So get it in writing, and once you do, sign it, get back to them. However, you don't necessarily need to rush. Especially if you got it in writing first, then maybe you can then follow up and ask some more questions so that you're well informed. But thank everyone that you talked to, thank the hiring manager, show your enthusiasm, confirm the start date, and then congratulations on your next chapter in your career.